If you ever stumble upon a small black feathered gathering in your backyard, no snacks, no music, but plenty of squawking, congratulations! You've just witnessed one of nature's most underrated social events, a crow funeral. Yes, these birds don't just caw and strut around looking mysterious. They actually hold solemn vigils for their fallen friends. And no, it's not because they're sentimental goths with wings. The reason is far more practical and just a little spooky. The grim, feathered reaper arrives. When a crow dies, its comrades don't simply shrug and fly off into the sunset. Instead, they gather around the body, often perching nearby in silence before breaking into a chorus of loud, angry calls. To the casual observer, it looks like a birdie version of CSI Backyard. To scientists, however, this behavior is a fascinating window into avian intelligence and social learning. In one study published in Animal Behavior, researchers discovered that these gatherings are not about mourning, they're about learning. When crows see one of their own lying lifeless, it's a serious, teachable moment. Something dangerous happened here, and the survivors want to figure out what. So while humans hold funerals to say goodbye, crows hold them to say, who did this, and how do we avoid them? Death as a teachable moment. The scientists didn't just wander into crow funerals with clipboards. Instead, they designed a clever experiment to uncover what sparks this eerie behavior and how long the birds remember it. They set up feeding spots for wild urban crows, basically all-you-can-eat crow buffets, and sent in volunteers wearing Halloween-style masks, each carrying different objects. A taxidermy crow posed as dead, a stuffed red-tailed hawk, a known crow predator, or both together for dramatic effect. Picture the scene. One moment the crows are enjoying lunch, and the next, a masked human appears holding their stuffed comrade like a scene straight out of The Lion King. Naturally, chaos ensued. The crows began cawing, swooping, and mobbing the intruders in outrage. But beneath the feathery fury was sharp intelligence at work. The birds weren't just being dramatic, they were learning. The crows quickly associated the strange sight with danger, and impressively, remembered those masked faces long after the fake funerals were over. Crows never forget and never forgive. You may think that after a few days, crows would move on. Nope. Even weeks later, they still recognized and harassed the mask-wearing volunteers, even if those same people later showed up empty-handed. That means a crow doesn't just remember your face. It remembers what you were doing when it saw you. Accidentally hit one with your car? You might want to start wearing sunglasses and a hoodie from now on. Because if you wrong a crow, it might just tell all its friends about you, and its kids, and possibly its grandkids. Researchers have even found that crow societies can spread information about dangerous humans. One crow's bad experience can ripple through an entire population, turning you into a feathery folk villain for years. Imagine being the subject of a multi-generational, "don't trust that guy" story among the local birds. The difference between a crow and a pigeon, it's not the suit. To make sure this wasn't just a bird thing, scientists tried similar experiments with another urban favorite, the humble pigeon. When the researchers paraded a dead pigeon in front of live ones, the reaction was, well, non-existent. No mobbing, no alarm calls, no black feathered wake. The pigeons simply went about their day like, Frank's dead? Anyway, what's for lunch? This contrast highlights how socially and cognitively advanced crows are compared to many other birds. Where pigeons rely on instinct and routine, crows rely on observation, memory, and what appears to be a mix of curiosity and paranoia. They're basically the Sherlock Holmes of the avian world, if Sherlock also screamed at you from a tree. Murder is more than just a name. There's an old collective noun for a group of crows, a murder. Poetic, right? Turns out, it's also disturbingly accurate. When crows gather around their dead, they're not just paying respects, they're investigating a potential murder scene. Who's the killer? Was it a hawk? A human? That suspicious cat on the fence? By studying their fallen comrades, crows gain vital information that can help them avoid predators in the future. It's a natural survival strategy, and one that may even pass down through generations via social learning. It's almost as if crows have invented their own version of true crime podcasts, except instead of sitting around microphones, they squawk loudly from branches while side-eyeing every suspicious creature nearby. The neuroscience of a feathered genius. You might be wondering, how can a bird even process all this information? Well, crows belong to a family called corvids, which includes ravens, jays, and magpies, all famous for their intelligence. Their brains are packed with neurons comparable in density to primates. In fact, if brain power were measured by size to intelligence ratio, crows would be up there with chimpanzees, only with more attitude. They use tools, recognize themselves in mirrors, solve multi-step puzzles, and can even plan for the future. If crows had opposable thumbs, we'd probably be working for them by now. So when a crow investigates a dead companion, it's not just reacting emotionally, it's analyzing. Think of it as a tiny feathered detective team running risk assessments. Okay, Carl died here last Tuesday. The guy in the weird rubber mask was nearby. Let's mob him for the next 6 weeks just to be safe? Crow funerals, sad, smart, and a bit spooky. Now, let's be clear. Scientists aren't saying crows feel grief the way humans do. They're not holding emotional eulogies or handing out tiny bird tissues. What they are doing, though, is showing awareness of death, a rarity in the animal kingdom. Aside from crows, only a handful of species seem to react meaningfully to the deaths of their own kind. Elephants, who gently touch the bones of their fallen, dolphins, who carry deceased calves for days, and chimpanzees, who sometimes stay near the bodies of their young. So the fact that crows, creatures with brains the size of a walnut, engage in similar behaviors is astonishing. Their funerals may not involve weeping, but they definitely involve watching, learning, and remembering. A bird's eye view of morbid curiosity. Here's where things get really interesting. Some researchers believe crows' reaction to death may have evolved from pure curiosity into a survival mechanism. In other words, at some point in their evolutionary past, noticing a dead crow became advantageous. The birds who paid attention to corpses were more likely to avoid predators and survive long enough to pass that cautious curiosity on to their offspring. So, when you see a group of crows gathering around one of their own, it's not so much a sad farewell as it is a community safety meeting, with extra squawking. Lessons from the murder. There's a strange beauty in this behavior. Crows have, in their own way, developed something that humans pride themselves on: social learning. They observe, share information, and remember. They teach each other not just how to live, but how not to die. And maybe, just maybe, there's something poetic in the fact that a creature often seen as a symbol of death has become such a powerful student of it. Why humans should respect the crow. So what can we, the so-called smart species, learn from all this? For one thing, don't underestimate crows. They're watching. They know your face. And if you've wronged one, they might make sure your morning commute turns into a Hitchcock sequel. But more importantly, crows remind us that intelligence takes many forms. It doesn't always look like a lab coat or a PhD. Sometimes it looks like a glossy black bird holding a tiny vigil in your driveway, honoring its fallen friend, warning its kin, and maybe wondering why the strange bald ape in sneakers is staring. And that's the wild world of crows. Clever, cautious, and just a little bit creepy. If you enjoyed learning about these genius birds and their mysterious funerals, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. And hey, be nice to crows. They will remember you.